Hello and welcome to the Doctors Who Read Stuff. My name is Chris.
I'm Chip.
And I'm
And
Brian.
today we are coming at you with part 2 of A Question of Price, which is the fourth short story in The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski, I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
You nailed it.
Cool. So in part 1, we talked about how Geralt was at the Kingdom of Sintra, and he really didn't know why he was there. And he had some fun conversations with the queen while she's trying to marry off her daughter to an influential person. And then somebody crashes the party and says, "Hey, law of surprise, your daughter belongs to me." And she's like, "Well, poop, we better convene a council." And that's where we stopped it. Now, that was like super fast. So if you need to go review, there's a previous episode that you can check out. But today we're talking about part 2. Calanthe says we need to convene a council to see if we can really allow this to go forth, because whoever marries Pavatta, my daughter, is going to become king of Sintra. And we just can't let that to some bonkers law of surprise, no matter what destiny says. And
I think it's at this point that Geralt noisily
right.
stands up, backs up his chair, and says, "Hey, we don't need to convene a
Right.
council."
Because in order for this
something along that line.
to work correctly, Pavatta has to be a willing participant. She has to say, "Yes, okay, I'll do it." And she does. To, I think,
That was
everyone's
actually
shock. Yeah.
surprising. Including the readers.
Right. There's ruckus amongst the nobles. Eventually it breaks out into a scuffle. The guards and some of the other suitors attack Urcheon. Wait, does he take off his helmet?
Well, this is
Yes.
where, when the clock struck midnight, she said, "Hey, it's time to take off your
And
helmet."
he's like,
He does.
he's not what you would expect. Looks a lot like this.
Ooh.
Anyway, that gets everyone all in a tizzy.
Yeah.
There's some fighting. Urcheon is injured.
Yeah.
Geralt intervenes on his behalf and stops, I think, the killing blow. And at that point, Pavatta reveals that she is the impetus behind this force that Geralt and Mousak felt earlier. And she basically turns the entire room into a vortex. Furniture, people, food, whatever is just like spinning around the room madly. Geralt and Mousak are eventually able to subdue her. Calanthe basically says, "Okay, hold on." And I think midnight then actually strikes because the bell person rang it early. Urcheon turns back into a human. Calanthe pulls everybody inside and says, "Okay, let's figure this out." And she basically agrees that Pavatta and Urcheon can be a thing. Everybody's happy. Calanthe is also apparently getting married to one of the Skellig people, so now there's going to be a king, so she's not too concerned about Pavatta. I don't know. It was all just, happily ever after stuff. And I think I rambled through that synopsis for quite long enough.
Let's dig in.
Thank you for putting up with that. It was not very good. But
It was good.
Oh, you flatter me. I wanted to go back to Geralt standing up and interrupting because on page 163, he said, let's see. "Everyone heard," spoke Geralt, "Baron Tig tell us about the famous heroes taken from their parents on the strength of the same oath that Urcheon received from King Rogner. But why should anyone want such an oath? You know the answer, Urcheon. It creates a powerful, indissoluble tie of destiny between the person demanding the oath and its object, the child's surprise. Such a child, marked by blind fate, can be destined for extraordinary things. It can play an incredibly important role in the life of the person to whom fate has tied it. That is why, Urcheon, you demanded the prize you claim today. You don't want the throne of Sintra. You want the princess. Which Urcheon agrees. And then Geralt says, because you didn't tell us everything. Rogner knew the power of the law of surprise and the gravity of the oath he took. And he took it because he knew law and custom have a power which protects such oaths, ensuring they are only fulfilled when the force of destiny confirms them. I declare, Urcheon, that you have no right to the princess as yet. You will win her only when the princess herself agrees to leave with you. This is what the law of surprise states. It is the child's, not the parent's consent, which confirms the oath. So, there you go. And that's where people are like, hold on, strange and noble man, who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm just a witcher. No big deal. So, and upon hearing he's a witcher, Urcheon's like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Because they do have a certain reputation, and he is, you know, yeah.
A little disfigured.
Doesn't he almost get defensive, like he's ready to stand his ground against the Witcher, and the Witcher's like, no, that's not what's going to happen here.
Which again goes back to the not all Witchers are bloodthirsty monsters. They definitely have their skill set, but he again is staying. I mean, he's sticking to what his mantra is. He only deals with monsters, and he's no monster.
So, at that point, you know, when the midnight bell rings and he takes off the helmet to reveal what he really looks like, I think we understand perfectly what Calanthe's goal was in bringing Geralt to Sintra. Because she knew Urcheon, because King Rogner told her the whole thing on his deathbed. Hey, this dude with a spiky face and spiky head saved me. Law of surprise. Pavatta's his. I'm going to die now. Don't kill me. So she knew what he looked like. She knew he was coming. And I think she put... When I read the part where Geralt's sword was behind the throne, based on her comments about him or her knowing what it was Witchers do and what they don't do, led me to believe it was his silver sword.
It was something, you know, he said it was familiar.
Right. So I made an assumption there just based on her conversation, and also having watched the Netflix show, knowing what Urcheon really was. But it also ties back to what Haxo said at the very beginning, right? Something strange in the castle.
Yeah, because is this where we find out that he and Pavatta have had some sort of a relationship for going on a year or more, where he's been visiting her and...
Right. Because he said, what usually frightens people, this is Haxo at the beginning, a monster. They say it's a small hunchback bristling like an urcheon, which happens to be this individual's name, or at least what he's called. And if they've been seeing each other for a year, it's possible he's been sneaking in the castle, and periodically people have caught a glimpse of him. So, yeah, I was just kind of like, I connected some dots here. So, yeah.
It's a good bit of foreshadowing there.
Basically, yeah. So
basically, it's just... Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, sorry. One other thing about the sword. This is also a nice tie back to the like the portion in between chapters where he talked about how his sword was forged from the meteorite, like the metal that comes from the meteorite. Or I felt like it was at least a callback to, you know, a little bit about his history, and so like it kind of felt like the Queen knew a little bit about him already, and it kind of just fit with what we'd learned previously. But I also wanted to say Urcheon, also to me, when I read it, I actually read it as urchin, not just Urcheon, which I thought of sea urchins.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or a street urchin, some lower life
street urchin,
form.
that's a good one too.
Yeah. But when...
So is this where...
Go ahead. No, I insist. This whole remote thing is not easy.
No, I insist.
COVID-19,
It's
go
tough.
away.
No.
Jeez.
No.
I was just gonna say when Pavada is asked if she's going to go, like by Calanthe, and Calanthe's like, "There's no way she's gonna agree to
That's what I
this,"
was wondering.
and she says
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
Well, that's what Calanthe kind of thought. Yeah, this is my
Yep.
out. So I'll ask her if she really wants to leave with him, and she says yes.
And when she says yes, the book says the force filled the hall. The force filling the hall echoed her, rumbling hollowly in the arches of the vault. No one, absolutely no one, made the slightest sound. Because this whole like
I think this is
force
her.
that Geralt and Mousak have been sensing has been like building and mounting for most of the meal
Yeah.
since Pavada showed up. And then things kind of descend into chaos here, because
Yeah, so Calanthe kind of collapses back into her chair, and then the fight
yeah,
breaks out.
yeah, Urcheon's like, okay, I'm taking her now, goodbye, and then she calls the guards and things break down.
Mm-hmm.
Urcheon actually gets injured. I think he gets like a knife in between his like the chinks in his armor, and
Yeah, because he has a couple of guards and knights attack
yeah.
him, and they try to charge him, and he's pinned by two guards, and yeah.
But when Geralt makes his move, he actually makes it to defend and save Urcheon,
Yep.
which I'm sure was not what Calanthe had in mind. But
No, because Geralt steps in to defend, and I thought iced the other one.
yeah,
One of the other, I don't remember if he was a
Yeah.
suitor or the father of a suitor. Was he? He kind of stepped in to defend
Yeah.
too, so he understood what the law of surprise meant. I think.
and this is where like
But this is
Pavada
where
goes nuts, basically.
yeah, she's completely out of
Yeah,
control at this
and
point.
Geralt and Mousak,
Because Mousak tries to step
Yeah.
in.
and they kind of have a conversation while everything's going crazy, and they're like, she's got this power, she can't control it. Basically, it's
Then,
yeah.
Yeah, but then wasn't it Kudak does something to make noises and distracts her enough that they're able to subdue her.
And it
Or
seems
kind of
like this
calm
guy's
down.
got a good head on his shoulders, because he was the one that stood up and kind of explained the law of surprise and all the nuances, and now he's like, oh, I know, I'll distract her. So
Yeah.
yeah,
True.
but basically, after Mousak and Geralt are able to sorry, my brain just shut off. After they're able to subdue
They got her
her
to calm
and
down.
like, yeah.
Now, Mousak was able to throw signs as well.
Well, I don't know
And-
if he was throwing
Gang
signs
signs,
like
or-
Geralt was, but he's a druid slash sorcerer, so he's got some magical abilities,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. And that's what I wasn't sure. Like, druids kind of vary between different book series. When it said druid, I wasn't really sure what that entailed.
Right.
But if he was more like a sorcerer, then I could definitely see that. I knew he wasn't a witcher, but yeah, it was
He's got
just
some magical abilities.
Right. But basically, everybody kind of stops and calms down after she's subdued, and that's when midnight truly hits, and Urcheon turns back into a man. And basically, for like, was it dawn to dusk? He's basically this monster, and then he's a man from midnight to dawn, or something like that.
yeah. That's how I read it, at least.
Is that it? I don't know. I got confused.
Yeah.
So why didn't he visit her during the day when he was a man?
No, he's a man during night.
He was a monster.
Yeah.
Oh, at night. But if he was creeping around at night, then I don't know. I was confused, like I said.
Let's see. He said, from midnight to dawn, an ordinary man. From dawn, you saw what? My father wanted to hide it. People are superstitious where I come from. Spells and curses in the royal family could prove fatal for the dynasty. So, yeah, he's only normal in the middle of the night, basically.
For like a few hours.
Yeah. But
So, but this is here. This is where Pavetta and Dooney, now that we know his name, kind of explain that, yeah, we've been seeing each other for quite a while now. And
right.
Calanthe kind of agrees that, well, I see that, you truly love each other, and kind of agrees that, they could get married, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then the surprise there was that Ais, who came as a chaperone to some younger suitors, asks for Calanthe's hand in marriage.
Yeah, and so they basically
So that was kind of
have
interesting.
2 weddings to do, and once Calanthe succumbs to destiny, Dooney's curse is actually broken. So
win-win.
Everybody wins. Now, correct me if I am wrong, because it's been a while for me as well, but did Calanthe agree to go along with this in the Netflix show, or did she make a show to go along with it and tried to have him killed?
I honestly, I don't recall.
Because I remember her being like, "Oh yeah, okay, destiny, law of surprise, cool," and then like when he let down his guard, she tried to have him killed or something. But I might be imagining things. I tell you what, viewers, if you are watching and you know the answer, please put it in the comments. I'm a thinker.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
So basically then, now that all this has happened, Dooney offers, thanks Geralt for saving his life, and offers whatever he asks for, and of course he asks for that which you already have but do not know.
Right, so he invokes the law of surprise as well, because it seems like Witchers have to come from that sort of situation.
Yeah.
So, and he says, that Witchers are getting old, they're dying out, there are not as many of them, we need to keep the numbers up because the monsters aren't going away. So, but it's kind of a aha, because Pavetta's pregnant, and she knew, but Dooney did not.
Surprise!
Did the Witcher know? Did Geralt must have known somehow?
I would imagine.
Or figured it out.
Maybe one of his mutations allowed him to see that, or maybe he can smell pheromones or hormones or something. Who
Hear
knows?
the heartbeat or
Who
something.
knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's your happily ever after tale.
Yeah, so I was doing a little reading just on kind of some trivia around this, and apparently there is a Brothers Grimm fairy tale named Hans My Hedgehog that is basically the inspiration for this story. So much of the first half of that Hans My Hedgehog tale kind of follows the same story of Dooney, or the urchin. The second half kind of changes, but basically he's born half hedgehog, half man, and he leaves and saves a king, basically receives the king's daughter in reward. And so it's kind of interesting how Andrzej's taken these. I think we talked about, was it the Beauty and the Beast, one of the last ones we talked about, and taken some of these fairy tales that are fairly well known and kind of just turned them around a little bit and told them in a different way, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I like it. I like that he's kind of taking these stories that people used to grow up with and using those as building blocks. I think it works well.
Yeah,
I do too.
And I mean, those stories are timeless for a reason.
Right.
That's a good point.
All right. So next week we will hit the next story, the 5th story. I don't know offhand what it is called.
The Edge of the
It is
World.
called The Edge of the World.
Well, thank you very much. And once again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We would love to have you along with us. And if you're reading this at the same time, we'd love for your feedback and your input as well. That'd be awesome.
Sweet.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on the Doctors Who Read Stuff.
Allons-y.